Joining us now, a Democratic member of the House Oversight Committee, Congressman James Walkinshaw of Virginia. Congressman, it's good to see you. Your colleague, Robert Garcia, called this a new phase of the Epstein investigation. So help us understand what makes this something that we haven't seen before.
Well, what we released today in the report documents, based on what we've learned from the files that have been released from the Oversight Committee's subpoena, the financial documents we have, the way that after getting the sweetheart deal from Alex Acosta, Epstein expanded his sex trafficking ring and took it global. So we're following the money to identify how he paid off the recruiters who recruited women like Rosa, who is with us today, so he could exploit them and abuse them.
You and your Democratic colleagues, as I said, unveiled this report just as you were going into this hearing. And I want to play within the hearing what some of your colleagues had to say about it today.
This report uses evidence obtained by our investigation, including and most importantly, bank records that show how Alex Acosta's sweetheart deal let Epstein build a global network using enablers to bring in women who he could then exploit and abuse.
A deal was hidden from the public, and the full extent didn't come to light until reporting from the Miami Herald. Had prosecutors in Florida done their jobs, most likely hundreds of young women might have been spared unimaginable harm.
So what are the questions that you think this still raises and that you still want answered?
Well, fundamentally, I think it's important for everyone to know that despite this vast sex trafficking ring, hundreds of women and girls abused, only two people have faced prosecution, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. And key figures were never interviewed by the FBI. Epstein's accountant, Epstein's lawyer, key recruiters for Epstein never interviewed. So there is a lot more investigative work that needs to be done. Our hope, my hope, is that the Oversight Committee's investigation can lead to either this Department of Justice or a future Department of Justice reopening some of these investigations, questioning those close to Epstein and Maxwell, and hopefully leading to other prosecutions of folks who allowed this to happen or helped this to happen.
Realistically, do you think you're any closer to that happening?
Well, unfortunately, we have a brick wall in the Trump administration and Trump Department of Justice right now. I'm not going to give up hope on that. We're going to keep working to convince them. We have Pam Bondi coming before our committee on the 29th, but it might be up to a future attorney general and future Department of Justice and a different administration who's really committed to the transparency and accountability that the survivors we heard from today are demanding.
We did show a little bit of this earlier, but you heard today from a survivor who had never publicly told her story before. Here's more of what she had to say.
Now I know that Jeffrey Epstein was supposed to be in jail cell in June of 2008. I met him at his house right here in West Palm Beach. He was not in a jail. He also spoke of his arrest that it was a game, bragging about girls visiting his cell, and his friendships with authorities. One day, his masseuse called me into his room where I was molested for the first time by Jeffrey. For the following 3 years, I was subject to ongoing rape. Jeffrey Epstein was under house arrest for the molestation of underage girls at the exact time he was abusing me.
So I want to go back to what Alex Acosta said, which was that he thought a prosecution would have been a crapshoot. Was there enough evidence, as you see it then, as opposed to what we've learned since then and what we know now, to have a successful prosecution? Is that ultimately the point of this report?
Absolutely. There was enough evidence at the time. I sat through and questioned Alex Acosta when he came before our committee to be deposed. There was an indictment, dozens of pages long, many witnesses outlining Epstein's abuse, witnesses and survivors willing to testify to it in court. His decision to give the kind of sweetheart deal that he gave is inexplicable. And the fact that at multiple levels, the authorities, while Epstein was serving the limited sentence he was given, that there was no oversight of that. He was raping girls while he was serving the sentence for soliciting underage prostitution. It's absolutely outrageous. And yeah, my hope is that our investigation will lead to future DOJ investigations and prosecutions of others who were involved.
One of the attorneys, a congressman who represents Epstein victims, Jack Scarola, told a local news station in Florida he doesn't believe this field hearing will accomplish what he says victims still need most, which is answers about who else was responsible and changes to protect future victims. And I wonder if a hearing like this is less about potentially learning anything new and just mostly about keeping it in the public eye with the anticipation that maybe at some point you'll have a Justice Department that will pursue this or have another way to pursue other people who are culpable in this hideous tragedy.
Well, I think it's both. I mean, look, any investigation you build block by block, piece by piece, and sometimes those are small blocks and sometimes those are big blocks. Our investigation has revealed that key figures close to Epstein were never investigated by the FBI. Today, we heard Rosa's story for the first time in public, and she shared with me when I asked her, she shared that there were other women who were similarly essentially held hostage via fraudulent visas that Epstein and Maxwell procured for them. So all of that provides lines of inquiry for our committee's investigation and hopefully for a Department of Justice in the future that wants to take this seriously.
Let me ask you finally, Congressman, there were no Republicans at today's hearing. They didn't travel to Florida. And previously, there did appear to be bipartisan agreement to pursue facts in this case. What's the level of bipartisanship now as you see it?
There are a handful of Republicans on our committee and in Congress who, have courageously put these survivors ahead of protecting the administration. They deserve enormous credit, but they're in the minority in the Republican conference right now in Congress. We hope to grow that group. As we heard from the survivors today, this isn't something that should be political or partisan. We should all agree that we need to come together and get this transparency and accountability that they're asking for. And while I have serious concerns about President Trump's relationship with Epstein and his administration's work to cover up these files, it's also true that this is a failure that spans multiple administrations of both parties.
Congressman James Walkinshaw, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.